I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I guess that's pronounced Isla.
That's it, you got it.
I worked on it all day. Michael's not going to be here tonight.
Right.
Yeah. Rich?
So the project encompasses a subdivision of 1.446 acre parcel into two nearly equal lots. The comments that we have on the subdivision plan provided, we don't have any objection to the final subdivision that's being for approval. However, the following should be noted. Carmel Fire Department should be referred, the project should be referred to the Carmel Fire Department. A Town of Carmel highway permit is needed. Stormwater pollution prevention plan per New York State DEC regulations is required. Stormwater pollution prevention plan as detailed by the New York City DEP is required. Performance bond and associated engineering fee bonding must be developed. Actually, the applicant has provided me that info, so it's something we're working on. And the applicant may need a stormwater bond per Town Code Section 15687. So any resolution in the future needs to address those, or prior to this being moved forward, those comments need to be addressed.
Pat?
As Rich indicated, Mr. Chairman, this is a two-lot subdivision. Variances for this were granted in 2014. They have addressed all the site planning issues related to this application, and it's before you this evening for a public hearing.
Did Mike have anything?
He had no comments, Mr. Chairman.
Did this have, Howie has something to do with this?
It did. If you remember, there's a frontage issue that had a relationship to the adjacent site plan application. There's now an easement that's indicated on the plan, and Paul can point it out to you. If you remember, we spent a considerable amount of time dealing with that. That's what you're remembering, Mr. Chairman.
The highway signed off on it.
They did. And if you remember, the intersection at the other, next to the adjacent project, had the intersection modification. That was part of that approval. This is right next door to that.
Any questions around the board? If not, this is an open public hearing on Isla subdivision. Anybody in the audience wish to be heard?
As there's no comment from the public, I'd like to make a motion to close this public hearing.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Ready for resolutions?
We are, Mr. Chairman, subject to Rich's
Subject to his comments.
Yep.
Thank you very much.
Corrigan Field Home. Rich?
All engineering comments have been addressed. There are no additional comments.
Pat?
All the site planning issues have been addressed on this, Mr. Chairman. There are no other issues. It's on before you for a public hearing. And I have Mike's last memo, which was from last October. He simply asked for a note showing the fence on the property, which I think had been indicated. And it's on for public hearing.
Any questions around the board? We entertain anyone in the audience wish to be heard on Corrigan Field Home? We entertain a motion for close the public hearing.
I'd like to make a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thomas Fisher Incorporated and Joseph E. Simone, this is on for a public hearing. Rich?
All engineering comments have been addressed.
They got that septic straightened out?
Yes, they have.
Pat?
Same thing, Mr. Chairman. All the planning issues have been addressed. This is the project right next to the prior application, the funeral home.
Open public hearing on Thomas Fisher Incorporated with Joseph E. Simone. Anybody in the audience wish to be heard? Entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Since there's no public comment, I'd like to make a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. PCSB Mayor Pike Branch, Route 6, site plan, Rich?
No additional engineering comments.
Pat?
This is Mayapack Branch. You have the two resolutions before you this evening, Mr. Chairman, a neg deck and a site plan approval resolution.
We have to listen to, any comments, anything you want to say? Yes, sir. Anybody around the board? If there's no comments, can we get a motion on the resolution for TCSB Mayapack Branch, Route 6?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to offer a resolution for the Planning Board of the Town of Carmel, number 16-02, January 27, 2016, tax map number 86.11-1-1, PCSB, Mayapack Branch, 150 Route 6, final site plan approval.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So carried.
And we have the neg deck on this as well.
We have a neg deck and a resolution.
Yep.
We take that one, then we get a motion for the neg deck first.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I'll offer the resolution of the Planning Board of the Town of Carmel, number 16-01, January 27th, 2016, tax map number 86.11-1-1, PCSB, Mayapack Branch, 150 Route 6, secret determination of significance, negative declaration.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Route 6, retail lot 2. Rich?
All engineering comments have been addressed.
Pat?
All the planning issues have been addressed on this, Mr. Chairman, and once again, you have two resolutions, the neg deck and the final site plan approval.
No comments around the board? Can we, this got a neg deck on it also, has it?
Yes, it does.
Can we get a motion on the neg deck?
I'll make a motion for a resolution of the Planning Board of the Town of Carmel, number 16-04, January 27, 2016, tax map number 86.11-1-1, Route 6 Retail, 150 Route 6, final site plan approval.
We need to vote on that resolution for
Right,
neg
you need a
deck.
second.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
How many resolutions was on that, Pat? One or
Two, and now you
Two?
need the
a
site
neg
plan.
deck?
We had a neg deck on this also.
Can we get a motion on the neg deck?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
He's on a roll.
No, you already
Site
did
plan.
your
Right,
site
this
plan
one's the
now.
site plan.
You did the neg deck already.
Yep.
No, he said site plan.
No,
No, I
he said the
didn't.
site plan.
This is site plan.
first.
Yeah, he did site plan
Now we're
first.
gonna do neg deck.
Now you gotta do
This is
the
neg
deck.
deck?
I thought he did it the other way.
I'll give you, Anthony, I'll give you a break here.
Okay.
Yeah, he did the site plan.
Which one did I do first?
It's a site plan
first.
approval.
Okay, I'd
This
like to
is-
offer,
This is this site plan and a neg.
This is the neg deck.
Okay.
I'll offer a resolution of the Planning Board of the Town of Carmel, number 16-03, January 27, 2016, tax map number 86.11-1-1, Route 6 Retail, 150 Route 6, secret determination of significance, negative declaration.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Did you
Good.
concede that to Carl?
There you go. Conceded. So conceded.
YLFA Limited Partnership. Richard?
This is SMSA.
Yes.
The application involves the installation of a cellular antenna on the roof of an existing building located at 361 Route 6 in Mayapack. No new site improvements are planned. The engineering department has no technical concerns on the application. The applicant should know that this should be referred to the town's Environmental Conservation Board. Mahopac Fire Department, and the Putnam County Health Department for review and recommendation per Section 15637E of the Town Code.
Pat?
So you may recall, Mr. Chairman, at the last meeting, there was one zoning compliance issue that related to the provision of off-street parking. The applicant submitted documentation indicating that they were legalizing 2 existing parking spaces. So it's not clear what was meant by that. If those 2 parking spaces were previously devoted to the existing Sam's flooring use, or if they were excess spaces. They need to be excess spaces. If they're Sam's spaces, you can't take away Sam's for this requirement. So it needs to be clarified, Ed, what you meant by legalizing. The second issue, before you get to this, so the second issue that we spent some time discussing was the co-location of the antennas on the building and where they could be located. And the board had some suggestions and options. One of them was perhaps installing the antennas inside the cupola of the building. And as of our submission deadline, the applicant provided no responses to that information. I think they may be prepared to discuss that this evening, but we have no submissions to deal with those issues.
Did Michael have anything?
Michael did not have anything.
Other than the parking, I think you had a parking issue, same thing.
Yeah, so Michael has to weigh in with this legalization issue.
Just first, I quickly dispense with the microphone. Just for the record, once again, my name is Ed Tyler from the law firm of Snyder & Snyder, representing Verizon Wireless site plan application. I have with me tonight Ekta Shaw from Camby Design Group, the engineers helping Verizon Wireless with this site. And so just to quickly address with the engineering comments, the application was referred to the Putnam County Health Department and Mahopac Fire Department. I have the certified receipts for mailing, and they were previously submitted to Rose. We appeared last week before the Environmental Conservation Board, and if you haven't gotten it already, they recommended that the application be referred back to the planning board to grant site plan approval. Found no environmental issues to mention. If you don't, I don't know if you have that resolution yet. And now, but to get into the substance, really what we're here for tonight is to talk about the parking. So if we could just flip over to the, so by legalizing the parking, the 1999 site plan, which I believe is the last time this property obtained site plan approval, shows 16 parking spaces on the property. Now the zoning code has since changed, so that is, I guess would be characterized as an existing non-conformance. There's whether, and I don't know exactly the procedural history here, but there are more than 16 parking spaces at the property now if you go and count them. So we were proposing to just legalize any of those 2 parking spaces not shown on the 1999 site plan, and have that reflected in our amended site plan application, and with the understanding that those 2 existing parking spaces, which are painted there on the ground now, but not on the 99 site plan, would be designated as Verizon Wireless's sites, keeping in mind that this is an unmanned public utility wireless communication facility. 1 truck will be there once a month for about 30 minutes, and that this is completely to comply with the zoning code, which we all obviously have to do. So that's just a first glance at Pat's questions about the parking.
Ed, how many spaces are on the site in total?
There are, I believe, 24.
Can you show those?
I wrote it down, it's too late. It doesn't-
There's 24.
He wrote 24.
Are those all accessible, or is there any of that around the back of the building or
So
something?
there's
It's
no
all,
parking around the back.
it's all on the side, right?
It's all to the side. It's all to, I guess that's the southern portion.
Okay. My only question is, it seems odd that there was approved for 16 and now there's 24, as to whether somebody striped it improperly and they're not the right size.
Yeah, so Mike has to weigh in on this issue, verify what's there was done legally, and in fact that they are excess spaces. So Ed's produced his argument. Mike's got to verify this.
Yeah, absolutely.
But if you remember the last time, the issue was brought up and the applicant didn't know. So now he knows.
What he's saying, there's 18 spots there now?
16.
Yeah, he needs 16. There's 20 some odd spaces there now, so
He's saying, what does he need?
he needs 2.
And how many?
Sam's needed 16. There's 24
That
on the
means
site.
there's 18.
Yep, and there's apparently 24,
He's counting.
by his
We
count.
want to know what the
Yep.
town counted.
Yep, so Mike has to get out there and verify it.
Now, for the issue of, have you looked at putting them interior to the building?
Yes. So we looked at flush mounting the antennas, putting them inside the cupola, and ran both options past Verizon's RF engineer and the property owner. And so from an RF standpoint, one of the antennas could be flush mounted, the other one can't be. Beta sector can be flush mounted, gamma cannot be. We revised lease exhibits, presented to the landlord to say, or the property owner to say, would you be amenable to this change in the design? And he wrote back a letter, and I have a letter that I can submit tonight. We didn't have it at time of the submission deadline, but I don't know if you would prefer that. I have copies.
What was his objection?
His objection was, I'll just give you the letter, but.
Actually, Ed, hold on to that, submit it to Rose, so it's formally
Got it, yeah,
accepted.
yep.
Just tell us basically
you
what
can
he
read
said.
it.
Basically, so for the RF transparent screening, he was very much opposed to rebuilding the roof. That would involve taking off the roof of the cupola, which was, my understanding, was pretty recently done, and rebuilding everything from the antennas up out of RF transparent material. That was a complete non-starter. Just for sheer cost and the fear that a roof made out of RF transparent material is not going to be as good as a regular roof. For the flush mounting the beta sector, and I'll submit it to Rose, and you can review it from Rose, but he also objected to that for aesthetic reasons. He thought it would look better as is, and his position was that when he walked the site with Verizon Wireless, they designed the site. I don't think you were there, but the engineers and him walked the site, and Verizon Wireless's leasing representative walked the site, and that his position was that the design that they came up with was the best looking design, and he, for aesthetic reasons, did not want the antenna to be flush mounted. But you can read in more detail, not hearsay, when you get his letter. I also have, and I guess same goes, I have them tonight, but revised simulations. Pat at the December 13th meeting requested that view 2 be zoomed in, and that an additional view 4 be taken from Putnam County Trailway. I have those here with me tonight. They weren't finished until yesterday, so I couldn't submit them before, but
Same thing, Ed, submit them to Rose.
Yeah, absolutely.
Kind of hard to do much without seeing the
Right.
new submissions.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, that's the deal. So we have a submission deadline, they have to meet those deadlines, and then we can circulate, everybody has a chance to review them, including staff, and we can give you our opinions.
I actually do have one question for clarification. You indicated it couldn't be flush mounted. I'm not sure what that was in relation to. We talked about having them inside the structure,
Flush mounting is just putting them not above the building. So if this is the facade of the building, the top of the antenna would be parallel to the top of the facade of the building.
but outside, visibly
Correct.
outside.
Visibly outside.
Okay,
correct.
I wanted to get back to you indicated, if they were to go inside, that you'd need to change the cupola roof.
Yeah,
But there's vaulted space in there below the roof material. Are the walls also not RF transparent?
correct.
Okay, so nothing in that building, you can't put anything inside without changing part of the structure?
Yeah,
Okay.
and that's true for any building. Yeah.
Okay.
That's correct.
Could you just do us one other favor?
Yeah.
When you speak of RF transparent, when it's a solid wall, does that mean it's 100% impervious or 2% impervious? Is that right? Okay.
I have a question. A while back, we had asked, and you provided an RF study by a sealed PE.
Yes.
That's, what that study was based on, what location were the antennas?
That is as they're currently shown. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So any changes would require another,
Absolutely, yeah. But as of right now, we don't really have any changes to make.
I understand that the owner of the property is against putting them within or restructuring or rebuilding the roof that's new for him. What about the option of adding on to the roof? Adding on like a weather vane, or they call it widow's peak, or I've seen boxes that are surely decorative
Right, so.
that can house this antenna and be made RF compliant.
So an option would be to do a stealth panel or two stealth panels on each corner of the building. So you would be looking at a panel that's RF transparent material that's designed to match the facade of the building. That's not going to be on the cupola. That's going to be where we could talk about it where you think it should go, and we can go back and forth. But the way I think that the way it would work would be antennas would be where they are right now, and you would have a stealth panel of RF transparent material that's covering the antennas. It would essentially be trying to match the facade of the building as much as possible, so it just looks like an extension of the building. And that is something that we could continue to explore. The only thing is, usually when those are done, it's to cover so usually a sector has 4 antennas per sector, so you put a screen up to cover 4 antennas. In this case, it's 1 antenna per sector. So you're going to put a screen up, which is going to be, I don't know, 3 or 4 or 5 feet wide by several feet high to block an antenna that's, I can't remember the antenna dimensions off the top of my head, but maybe a foot wide.
I'm sorry, Kim, but what I think Kim's getting to, so the screening issue is one thing, and that's often done for equipment enclosures on a roof where you'd put a wall around the equipment enclosure.
Right.
I think what Kim's referring to is a clever stealthing device.
Actually on top of the cupola?
Yeah, and so it's not just the screen around it, build it to look like a weather vane or something like that and disguise it in
It's
that way.
basically, if you're familiar with, like, they call them widow's peaks, and it's just another box.
Architectural element.
Architectural structure on top of, the roof. And within it, it's a faux casing, and you can put whatever you need to, making it out of RF material.
Yeah.
And it can be conducive.
Make sure that the cupola has enough strength to carry that.
Right,
It's not
right.
about it.
And you're going to have some sort of conduits routed probably out, up along the roof to get up there.
All the
But
cables
yeah.
and everything going to the antenna will have to be routed now through that roof and everything. So it will ensure
Or
that
maybe
everything
we
can
could
be
just do
done aesthetically good also.
The object is to just conceal and camouflage so that to the public, they are not aware that this is an antenna, that it aesthetically stays pleasing. We don't want to ruin the structure of this building and start popping antennas. It is a co-location.
Right. Just so you know, there are other equipment boxes that go with the antenna, so we have to make sure all of those equipment boxes can also fit within that cupola.
Didn't we say we anticipate future antennas here potentially? So I think whatever we do here,
Sets
we
the
ought
bar.
to think about that. Not just plan the design for the 1 antenna if there's going to be 2 years from now.
Right. Well, future antennas are not going to be, most likely they're not going to be from Verizon Wireless. They're going to be from another carrier. So they're going to be in probably, if Verizon's for sake of argument, say Verizon Wireless is able to do the stealth enclosure on some sort of faux extension of the cupola, put the antennas in there. Another carrier, the odds of them being able to fit into that enclosure and sharing that space with all their equipment is slim to none. They're going to have to be somewhere else on the building.
Typically, wouldn't we locate the antennas right next to each other?
Typically, but it gets more complicated when you're working within a
It's a-
finite volume of.
It's a net volume issue, and
And they have
a
separation
cupola that big,
standards.
it's going to be bigger than the turret is now, in all likelihood.
There could be also separation requirements
Issues,
for
yeah.
one antenna to the other.
Yeah, I just try to
Yep.
plan ahead for the next antenna.
Well, I agree, and although it's really not also Verizon's responsibility to create a mask for future installations.
More ours.
What the concern brings up, though, is that the whole reason we even went down this road, as Kim points out, to protect the aesthetics of the building, but to ensure that the next guy has to do something equally aesthetically acceptable.
Responsible, yeah.
Yeah, so
so
that may be something else completely different, because it can't fit in this, whatever you may install, if in fact that goes that way. But they have to do something, and we burn that bridge when we come to it.
I would also say that if you do, I've seen sites that do the stealth panel like I was talking before, which is just a plane that matches the facade of our transparent material. Those, granted, for interference reasons, the other carriers have to be spread out some couple feet from other carriers' antennas, but that would
just thinking of some previous applicants that we've dealt with that have done these that are trying to do these antennas, and everyone's had the same quick fix. What quick, this is what we can do to conceal it, and it's the same thing you're saying. It's, it's colored the same as the building, it's, a metal casing and slap it on the side of the building, but I think we need to do a better job at hiding this than just slapping them up, because it, like Carl
they're
said, it sets the tone
And
for
they're gonna
everybody.
be everywhere, eventually, they're gonna be all over the
Right.
place.
No, I don't know that it gets so hung up that it has to be on the cupola either. I mean, if you could do
No.
some sort of structure,
Right.
A spire next to it that works, again, architecture, have to look into it, but again, it doesn't need to be something right on top of the cupola. It could be on the roof, just dress it up a little bit, right? Give it something that looks nice on the roof, maybe easier to do.
Make it blend in. I can't remember what the siding is on it, but, if it blends in as being part of the siding, as opposed to running perpendicular to the siding. I can't remember exactly what the siding is on that building,
I
but
think it's just stucco.
stucco?
I could be wrong.
Okay.
There is a parapet on that roof though, correct? But the antenna has to be on the exterior part of the parapet as opposed to the interior?
No, it goes interior.
It's on top of it.
So when the parapet ends here, the antenna starts right here.
But I believe the front of that parapet has a sloped roof, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, so we want to be careful, I think, personally, about putting a large 3 or 4 foot high panel, because it changes the visual mass appearance of the building significantly, so.
The good news is they deal with this all the time in
Right.
all sorts of municipalities. Their creativity is far better than ours, so I think you've done the right thing. Raise the issue, you have an applicant agreeing to consider this for us, so let's see what they can come up with.
Hold it over, right?
Yeah, and we've got some material that was submitted that we need to get to you for the next meeting.
Actually, I have one other last question. If, in the future, now these all these installations usually have some structure, building, or equipment down on the ground.
Not this one. Everything
okay.
is on the roof. Yeah, I mean, this is, it's a pretty minimal installation. There's only 2 antennas. Some sites have up to 12 antennas, but this site, there's no generator, there's no equipment shelter, there's no big battery cabinets. There's just the antennas and,
Small cell units is what they call them.
Okay.
and they're yay big and they're mounted on a frame on the parapet wall.
For your installation, I guess the question then relates, and it's maybe not so much for you, but when the next 4 or 5 guys come in, is that suddenly going to obviate a need for some concrete, precast space or something?
Often does, Carl.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's, okay.
But that would be on the applicant.
That's the next guy's. I'm just trying to see what's coming.
So you're right, so we shouldn't be foreclosing opportunities for the next guy, and that's what we need to be aware of, but it is the next guy's issue.
So I think you guys have taking all your suggestions. I think we have a couple of additional options for tenant locations to look at. And since Mike's not here tonight to comment on parking requirements, I think it's really, that's what you guys have more questions. It's not a lot more to discuss. The one thing I might ask, I know it's not your procedure to share comments before the meeting, but if Mike has a memo relating just to the parking that could be released maybe early before the next meeting, just.
Or Ed, you can reach out to Mike and
Okay,
sit
yeah,
down
or
with
just
him, and I think you
directly,
can.
I'll just talk to Mike, I guess, on my own, but, yeah, except that, I just, hopefully we can, avoid going to the zoning board, but if we have to be referred, I guess we'll be back next meeting to do that. And, otherwise, thank you very much for your time, and we'll see you next month.
Thanks a lot.
Says not stucco, it's stone.
Yeah.
I was trying to explain like something like that. I asked him.
Yep.
She's got them, actually. If you go to that website, they're there. There's a link on that website. with-
Wixon Pond Estates?
They need to, through road.
Yeah, I'm not, yeah, well, I do.
It's not a big deal.
He picks it up in the morning, doesn't she?
Yeah, it's fine.
No, Kim sent those pictures, there's a
You
link.
see the
with
one
it.
with the cactus?
Yeah, it's free, there's a Liberty.
Wixon Pond?
Wixon Pond Road, The engineering department does not have objection to granting the extension of the preliminary subdivision approval for Wixon Pond Estates as located as tax map 53.2-20-1-19. The board should be aware of comments that were made in November of 2014, which would need to be addressed as part of the final subdivision approval, but that would be the next step for the applicant. There's a load of those comments, but they will address them.
As Rich said, Mr. Chairman, this is a preliminary approval extension, and as you know, we now impose a 6-month expiration date on preliminary approvals. So he's asking for an extension of preliminary approval. No objections.
One around the board?
Just, I was trying to find out, where on Wixon Pond is this exactly?
It's past the golf course on the left-hand side. As you're coming around the bend, there's a huge...
Past the golf course coming from 6 or coming from?
Coming from 6, yeah.
Okay.
It's probably about maybe from the golf course, maybe less than half a mile.
Is it past the lake?
Yes.
It's past the pond?
Oh, yes.
So
Well,
it's-
Okay, go past
So
the
it's
pond.
beyond the pond?
Yeah,
before you
just
start
beyond
going
the
up the
pond.
hill.
There's one subdivision before us, and then we're the next one.
All right, so it's on that side of the pond, right? Is it-
I guess, the east side, yes.
Right, the Long Pond side of the pond, the Long Pond Road side of the pond, if you will, right?
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
And, again, we're all new to this, right? So I'll ask the question. I guess we will get a chance to look at this in a little more detail when it comes back for
final approval.
site plan approval.
Right.
Yes. Oh, yeah, you'll have a complete map.
Right, so we used to have a situation where there was no expiration of preliminary approvals, so someone would get a preliminary approval and come back 4 years later,
Right.
and it would still be valid, but things have changed. This is our opportunity to make sure no regulations have changed, no rules have changed, and we keep a short leash on an applicant to stay on top of what's going on.
Any other questions? 6 months?
That's all we give them, 6 months.
So we need a motion for that?
You do.
I'll give Anthony a break. I'll make a motion for the extension of a preliminary subdivision approval, Wixon Pond Estates, 243 Wixon Pond Road, tax map 53.20-1-19.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Earl. Handler Carmel Community Foundation? Rich? Some of the new one.
Okay, good.
So the board may be aware the applicant is requesting a reapproval of a previously approved site plan. The applicant met with the engineering department on Monday, October 15th, 2015. The following should be noted. The reapproval request is for, as I just said, previously approved boards of site. Any changes which may be contemplated by the applicant may trigger a new site review process and regulatory review. The existing performance bond, and engineering inspection fee will need to be increased to reflect current cost. A stormwater maintenance agreement and bond will be required. And the one that was holding this up initially is the out-of-district water and sewer agreements will need to be updated to reflect the proposed use. The applicant is in the process of amending that out-of-district water and sewer agreement. The original amendment was for 72,000 gallons per day. They are amending it down to 42,000 gallons per day of flow for both water and sewer. The engineering department did perform a flow assessment, and that reduction is acceptable. They have approvals from the New York State DEP for stormwater, it's good till 2020. DEC stormwater permit dated from 2010. The out-of-district water agreements which need to be updated. So the engineering department does not have an objection to the reapproval of this site plan application.
Why did they reduce the flow?
Based on their own engineering report.
It's still the same project, still the same number of units, but refined engineering.
So I met with Ken Carney from the applicant, Greg Fulchetti, myself, and Rich, and what we came up with was the 42,000 gallons per day. So any resolution, if the board is inclined to reapprove the final site plan, I would only ask that it be subject to an amended out-of-district agreement, water and sewer agreement reflecting the new capacity.
Pat?
No issues, Mr. Chairman, the plan has not changed.
You mean he have to draw up a new,
Resolution, you'll need a new resolution.
to vote on?
Yes.
It would probably be a good idea. You're up. And this is Mr. Carney, who I mentioned a minute ago.
So our understanding, just from Ken's, just to bring him up to speed, the reapproval would carry the same conditions as the previous approval with the one additional
Amended
condition
condition.
that the out-of-district agreement be reestablished with the town board, reduced from 72,000 gallons a day down to 42,000 gallons a day.
That's correct. Yep.
Everything else remains identical, Jeff.
And can we do that by resolution this evening, or is it necessary to have to write one up and come back?
We need to write up the resolution, whether the board's willing to authorize the chairman to execute that's up to the board.
You have to give, that's a very good move you made. It's very good, Jeff.
Well, the applicant has been extremely patient with respect to this, and we did request the adjournment on a number of occasions so that we could meet. So I think as a matter of accommodation, I would extend that courtesy if possible.
So you can vote to approve, subject to, and have Harold sign it after the fact. We can prepare the resolution the next day or two. Jeff is biting his lip so hard right now.
Hasn't disagreed with anything yet.
Or will he?
Jeff knows when to be quiet.
Absolutely.
You're gonna draw up something,
Yes, sir?
and then I'm gonna sign it.
Yep, so the board needs to vote.
Do I have to sign what they vote on?
Or sign your name, that's the other thing.
So would that be a reapproval with conditions?
It would be a reapproval with conditions, yep. And part of the offering of the resolution should be authorizing the chairman to execute the resolution without bringing it back to the board. And again, just so everyone's clear, that resolution will be the same resolution that we've adopted before with 42 replacing 72,000.
When would you have the resolution?
In the next day or two.
Craig, I have to sign it, because I won't be here.
Whatever your schedule is, Mr. Chairman, we'll have it ready.
Tomorrow?
We'll get it tomorrow for you.
He's at your beck and call.
That's absolutely right.
Need a motion? Need a motion to, for reapproval of final site plan
That's what it
approval
is, yep.
with the stipulations that was given to us tonight?
Did you make that? I wasn't sure what was happening
Just wants to
there.
make sure that it's part of.
Yeah.
That sounded like a
okay.
motion.
We have to make
Okay.
sure that's part of the motion. Yeah.
I'll second.
Everybody understands?
Yeah,
And just to be clear, the reapproval is subject to the new out-of-district use
Of what?
with a maximum flow of 42,000 gallons per day.
Correct.
Water and sewer.
Water and sewer.
What goes in comes out. Sorry.
And does this, and authorize the
The
chairman
chairman to execute the resolution when it's
said
prepared.
resolution?
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Don't put that in the resolution.
The chairman or the planning board's designated representative.
Yes. Doesn't have to be me.
Do you want to repeat this all?
No, we got it. So I just need a vote on that.
We need, did we make some?
You made the motion, actually, Harold, so we got it.
And there's been a second.
And there's
I
been
did a second, so I think we're there.
You mean to say I made that motion?
You did, believe it or not, you did. I wrote it down, so
I was gonna make it, I couldn't figure out what it all was.
I thought you was making that.
I was gonna
just-
try.
I was just trying to illustrate what the motion would contain.
Did a good job.
You
Did a good
such a good
job.
job that you seconded it.
Exactly.
Craig, would you make that motion?
sure. I'll make a motion for the reapproval of final site plan approval. The Hamlet Carmel, formerly Putnam Community Foundation, Stoneley Avenue, tax map 66-2-58, as per the amendment agreement of 42,000 gallons per day for sewer and water.
And recognizing or authorizing the chair or the other
Authorizing,
designee to sign the resolution.
And authorizing the chairman to sign the resolution.
Get a second?
I'll second.
finally, you got it in there.
Was right
All in
behind it.
favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion so carried. Thank you, Jeff.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, I just want to thank you for your patience and your consultants, and especially Joe Charbonneau and Rich Francetti for their patience and professionalism as we worked through this issue. Thank you.
No welcome.
You're welcome.
I-
Good
I'll
luck.
speak for Joe.
It's usually the other way around. Thanks, Ken.
Before we get to the minutes, I want to just go back to number 6. When do you think that architect will be on board?
So theoretically, tonight, they're going to authorize hiring him at next Wednesday's meeting.
They're doing the work
Wouldn't
session
it-
now,
Meeting next
and
week.
third and sections next week.
Would it be a bad idea to send him down and look at it?
I think it'd be a great idea. Right, don't you think, Ken?
Is that a good idea?
I think that's a great place
I
to
would
start.
I would just say that right now, whoever gets it, is I'm not here. Craig, you see that he gets down there?
Good idea.
That is a good idea.
Okay, then we come to the minutes. The young fellow is he's very good. He's a lawyer.
He's a lawyer. No offense,
No
Joe.
offense, Joe.
Not taken.
But you know something, his job is to convince us that whatever he wants to do is the right thing to do. And he could be right, but he could be a little bit off.
Yeah.
Could be a little bit off.
So we'd like somebody just to look at that.
Sure. Yeah, I think the way we have a significant issue with this, which is the Putnam County Trailway. So that's a significant public visual issue. So he gets that, so that's why he's being so responsive to your concerns. Otherwise, he'd be saying, no, we're not gonna do anything, we just wanna install them. So that's why he knows we have a legitimate issue. It's a public concern, so he's being pretty responsive.
We don't want to set the wrong precedent, right?
Absolutely not. So far, so good.
Yep.
So I think we'd look at it again. Pat, you can explain along with Craig.
Sure.
Exactly the board's concerns about it.
I think so.
And let him take a look at it.
I think so.
Minutes? Joe, I'm glad you got rid of that thing settled on that.
Well, Rich
that
did a
Putnam-
lot of the work.
On that Putnam community thing, because
Thank you.
that's been hanging around a little while.
It has, and the town got something out of that.
Yeah. And at one time in the board's history, it was going downhill. Thanks.
Yeah, I'm well aware. Well aware. I've got the scars to prove it.
The minutes, do we have the minutes?
You have the January 13th minutes. I think, Carl, you reviewed
I
them.
heard I read your comments
I
on
had
that.
my 2 cents, but I I think it was like 24 pages, so I only tried to make sure that what I could recall was accurate, so my memory's not what it used to be.
Well, what do you think?
I think they're good. So I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of 1/13/16.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Can we get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
I'm a little slow.
We get hung up on the minutes, then we're gonna have problems.
Harold, you are around tomorrow?